Last Pint Productions presents the New Way podcast. The New Way contains adult content, and new episodes are released most Wednesdays. So back off, man. We're professionals. Listener discretion is advised.
So you were in Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah?
Were you in the shit?
Yeah, I was in shit.
Last night, Darth Vader came down from planet Vulcan and told me that if I didn't take Lorraine out, that he'd melt my brain.
Here's how you get him. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello and welcome once again to the New Way podcast. We break down pop culture unless you feel you want to do it yourself. And if you do, you go ahead and do it yourself. We're giving you the option now. We're not going to force it upon you. I am your host, Matt Shank, joined by, that came out just very dark, more dark than I wanted it to. Joined by Benny Scotts and Nikki Crotch. How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. We're going the AB InBev route. We're not going to force it on you, Matt.
It's not.
It's always funny.
You want it.
It's going to be a low energy. When you think it's going to be a low energy show during the sound check, and then bam.
Yeah.
Hit the ground running. I love it.
Listen, I don't blow my load in that sound check. I save it for air. We know that's my mantra. Save it for air. We know this. My whole life is saved for air. When I'm lazy for a month, it's because I'm saving it for air. That's what it's going on. I'm ready to unfurl and unload it on the podcast. Thank you for tuning in for another week of podcast goodness. We've had some fun episodes, the last several ones, with some new voices on the podcast. I did share some of the fan feedback with our last three guests, Ken and Elizabeth and JB. They all liked hearing their feedback, and they're excited to do more episodes. I have to say the most excited I am is to get Ken and Nick and Elizabeth in a full nerd off on X-Men comics. And really just see what happens with that. I think there's going to be an amazing dynamic between the three of you, and I'm going to kind of just sit back and moderate.
I put the over-under at 8.5 bubs.
Well, I cannot wait for that conversation, Matt. But
yes.
But only because it doesn't involve JB. Because after what she said about Betty Buckley,
your childhood hero, Betty Buckley.
How dare she sully the good name of Betty Buckley? I was aghast, Matt. I was aghast.
I was especially tickled that of all the people to respond to the Betty Buckley thing, that Ryan was the one to be like, "I'm here for that beef, and I want more of this." All the people to be like,
Ryan,
"Yeah, I got to hear
beef.
more."
Ryan wants beef. Ryan always wants the smoke. He wants the smoke, and wait,
He's the
wants
1980s Wendy's commercial of the New Way podcast.
He wants the beef.
Well, I guess your
There's
joke was better
beef.
than mine, Ben. Thanks for popping in.
Well, he overpowered you. In fairness, he did it the new way. He did it how we do it.
He started to hear that my volume was down during sound check, and he saw it as an opportunity to strike.
He barreled right through your joke. I saw him not caring. He was like a wrecking ball, just ready to swing right through there. It was amazing. Even better was Nick tried.
All I could do was just stand there.
Nick tried, and he was like, I'm not powerful enough. Lex Luthor is the smartest supervillain on the planet.
I'm a little bit of Lex Luthor. I'm a little bit of Professor X. So sorry.
Yeah, Bald Ben doesn't fuck around. This is a new Ben.
Yeah.
We should say Ben is sporting the full bald look, which I got to be honest, I dig it, dude. I really was thinking about it when we were out for Beth's birthday. I was like, Ben just rocks the stone cold evil bald look. I don't think
The
Nick or me
Stone
could pull
Cold-
this
Stone
off.
Cold,
No,
Stone Cold is literally a look associated with that as well.
Yeah, it's,
Right
it's
there.
true.
Get him an Austin 316 shirt.
And I slam a couple beers and then throw him behind my head, and yeah, I'm good.
I think he's like I think Ben is 3 parts Lex Luthor, 2 parts Heisenberg, 1 part NoHo Hank, and I think that is the mixture that makes up Ben right now.
And a little bit of Dean from Community, just a pinch of Dean.
A pinch of Dean. I love it.
Dean, it'll be pinch.
There are lots of really fun pop culture things for us to discuss before we get into our topic. So we have, none of us have really spoken at length. Not even so much even on text, but we have, for the last 2 Guardians movies, we have gone and watched them together. We actually watched this most recent Guardians movie separate from one another. And I'm kind of curious to get the capsule review and feedback from you all. I know that we were all, for the most part, overwhelmingly positive with some caveats, and I'd be really interested to hear your takes.
Yeah, I mean,
for it, Matt.
I know that Nick, you said that you really liked it, right, Nick?
Yeah. Well, the thing that kind of surprised me most is I've been a fan of James Gunn, but I had really cooled off on him big time. And I was kind of getting sick of James Gunn, to be honest with you. I was real up and down on Peacemaker, and really did not like Suicide Squad. So and I really didn't like Guardians 2. So I was kind of thinking, like, now that James is now head of DC, like, yeah, does he deserve it? What's he going to be up to? What else does he have up his sleeve? Have we seen the best of James Gunn? I kind of thought about that a couple times, but this movie definitely proved not only his chops, but tying up a trilogy, and really more than a trilogy, seeing as how many films those characters have appeared in.
Sure.
In really, really, really satisfying ways. I think every single, Gamora kind of gets the short end of the stick, but everyone gets such a good arc.
Well, she died.
yeah. Her arc did sort of finish. I like what they do with her specifically in this movie. I like that there is no erasure of what happened in the other movies and her arc. Like they absolutely own it, and they don't go the easy way. I mean, this is slight spoiler alert. They don't go the easy way of being like, oh, well, she's going to all of a sudden just fall back in love with them. The story at the end of this is all about finding your family, and she has found her new family, which is the Ravagers that are the original, technically the original Guardians from the comics. I love that she goes back to them super happy.
Why don't you say we go out and do some bounty hunting?
That's actually
that's
remarkably
not bad.
good.
Yeah. It sounded like he maybe had a stroke, and then he was Schwarzenegger, but it was pretty damn close.
Well, and he really needed some hush puppies to dip into that honey mustard. Sorry, that's a way inside.
Woo.
Great card too.
No,
inside baseball.
But yeah, I really like that they didn't pull that punch at the end, that there wasn't this quick, easy love story resolution. And I love that all of them find their kind of, whether it's a new journey or a closure or whatever it is for each of those characters. I think that's also something that's, I do love things that retroactively make something that wasn't maybe as good make more sense. And I think Guardians 2 as a piece of this trilogy fits in better than it does as a standalone movie, just how it is.
100%. That's something I very heartily agree with. I think that it retroactively makes the second Guardians feel a little bit more like a complete film, given the arc of the 3 of them. So I would say that's that's one of the things I thought about right after I walked out of it. Is I was just like, because I was never cold on Guardians 2. I just felt that. But again, this also is because of the Avengers films and that type of stuff. I was like, these characters have meandered so much. And I'm like, oh, it's just more meandering. But when you have kind of the end point, it's a little bit easier to be like, oh, okay, well, we knew where they were going with all of these characters. And there was like some concerted effort, from the very get-go of like, here's the way that we're going to end the journey. I'm assuming that they had some sort of foresight of saying like, hey, if we get to make multiple of these movies, let's make 3, let's end in this good spot. That one of those types of things. I mean, I don't think that
I think you really feel that with
You know what I thought
Rocket.
was-
Like because I remember feeling like I liked Guardians 2, and I felt that there was some great emotion at the end of it, but I also felt very strange about Rocket's placement at the end of it, that he was so in the foreground, and it didn't make sense to me in that movie as it stood. It didn't make sense that it was his story. You know, he's the last one we're like seeing as they're watching the Ravager funeral, and he has that moment with Quill, and it's like, even if they steal the batteries, the Kevin Smith crying moment, right? Which is, it's a great moment, but I remember watching that movie going like, why are we on character 2? Like it seemed like such a weird place to focus, versus now that you watch these movies and you know where they're going with Rocket and how much that character is secretly the heart really behind all of what's going on there. It really makes that make more sense as being a midpoint of that character's journey.
So
The
do you
reveal
want
really
to
reminded?
go ahead? Sorry.
Thank you, man. The reveal really reminded me of 6 Feet Under. When Lila kind of leans in, you know, what did she say? You silly raccoon, the story's been yours all along.
Yeah.
I remember this like ground shaking moment where I loved 6 Feet Under the whole way, and here I am thinking Nate is the main character. The story's about him coming from Seattle.
It's about Claire.
Taking over the family business. It's Claire. That last shot of the hearse going off, and then that realization rocked me. See what I did there?
Okay.
Rocketed.
Yeah, continue. Go ahead. Stop.
And it is very similar. You know, it does when the pieces come together. Like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I see it now. It was all about Rocket.
Well, and even like watching
which-
Drax, like Drax is so cartoony and everyone's so cartoony and too, right? Like Gunn doesn't do the Empire, like the normal trilogy thing where your second chapter is your darkest entry, and it ends on these really dark notes. He went the reverse way and just made it this wild adventure. Like, here's an adventure an adventure day with the Guardians, and here's Drax becoming more comfortable with these people and becoming kind of this buffoonish character, because you're watching his character also find his place in all of them. And what is he Drax the Destroyer? Like, I love that bit at the end of the third one of kind of like, he's not Drax the Destroyer. That was his initial drive and his thing, but then Thanos is gone and these other things are gone from his life, and who is he? He's a family man. He is a guy that lost his family. That was his drive, and he was using revenge instead of kind of new family idea. So I thought they did such a nice job with each of them of kind of doing it, and also looking at each of the movies and saying, you know, the first movie is about losing your mother. The second movie is about losing your father. The third movie is about losing your family and finding a new family, or finding your friends, kind of like that idea. Like, I like all of these different little.
That's every Fast and the Furious movie.
How dare you?
You know what's funny though, Matt? Like, the way I was watching rewatching 2, and I can't like point to something. I can't give you a scholarly answer to why I felt this way. But the fact that the Guardians were separated for most of the film in Guardians 2 was a big reason I didn't enjoy it.
And you're consistent
then
with
watch-
that, Nick. You are consistent with that in movies in general, of not having the core group split up. But continue.
But see, at the same time, I'm not necessarily against that. I'm not.
Yeah.
But like from a film school script writing standpoint, it makes absolute sense
Sure.
that he would split them up. It makes sense. Peter is supposed to be alienated. He needs to feel closer to Ego. He has to feel willing to betray them. It makes a lot of sense on paper. I'm not questioning the decision.
No.
It just affected my enjoyability. Meanwhile, 3, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're separated a lot. And you know what? Didn't affect me at all. I liked every decision with the exception of the fight theme song. And that was like my biggest nitpick. Is like, I want something a little more like Motley Crue. I want like some cock rock. It wasn't full enough for me. That's my biggest nitpick.
Well, I like.
So
go ahead.
Can I? But here was my kind of my most overt criticism of the movie overall, and I think this is just maybe. This doesn't affect a normal kind of viewer of most of these movies, anyways. But
Philistines.
Ben's about to film school us. Let's do it.
No. I'm not. It's not like that. I mean it in this way. we know
whose
what like
brains aren't big enough
Stop.
we know what James Gunn's
Philistines.
tendencies are as a director, and sort of where, especially if you look at something like Suicide Squad, where there are very specific like visual gags and visual sort of there's sort of a template. So we've seen enough of his films that we're like, okay, that kind of looks like a James Gunn thing. You see what I'm saying?
Like Sam Raimi.
Very much like Sam Raimi. But and a lot of that, it has to do with framing, color scheme, all sorts of types of stuff. In the third movie, it seemed like decisions were made to pull together these types of like set pieces and specific visual canvases that were literally just there to look cool.
Sure.
And I'm like, like there were so many times where I was just like, is that really necessary? Like, and it was like, it's style. And it
Sure.
absolutely is like at some point sort of a style over substance sort of thing. Now, lots of directors do it and they can get away with it. But there's just like, I mean, all of the, there's the moon, the planet walking sequence when they're all wearing the completely different color, jumping out or whatever to the
2001 space suit.
hog.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Wait, but also you have to acknowledge that there are two literal space hogs in this film after that song played. I was so happy with that. Because for a while you don't like as an animal, it's a planet populated by animals, and you don't see a pig for a little while, and I'm thinking, did they really just play Space Hog? They're not gonna have a single Space Hog when they've written in a planet of animals, sentient animals. They did.
Yeah, like I said, I liked the movie, and I do think I'm really appreciative of sort of the whole arc of everything, but one thing that James Gunn has done more and more of as he has continued to work is he gets a little masturbatory sometimes. And it's like, and I'm just like that whole sequence. I was like, that could have been a cool 20-second sequence. No, it's a good 3 minutes. It's the whole fucking song. and then,
but you know what though? It's funny. I can see it going two ways. I could see it being like absolutely James Gunn getting to the point in his career where he's like, you know what? Yeah. I'm gonna have 4 minutes.
Oh, they don't cut him anymore. I agree. I think that's it. I think Ben.
But I also let me finish. I didn't even give you the other alternative. God damn it. But on the other hand, I also think that maybe he just likes a song so much that he has to get creative to fill space. Like the only thing he knew off the bat is that he's like, listen, we're gonna find a way to fill this scene up, but we're not cutting until that Space Hog song is played from start to finish.
I mean, I think that's part and parcel kind of with Ben's assessment of it, right?
A little bit of comedy.
He gets indulgent, and that's perfectly fine. He's earned it. He's earned it at this point. But if you wanted to nitpick something, that's a little precious. That's a little, it is what it is, and he's doing it. But that's the same. But I felt literally the exact same thing about Suicide Squad, which I was just like, there are so many moments where I felt like that movie could have been markedly better, but because he went full gun with it on the other direction, it actually ended up hurting the movie, like as a narrative device. I felt like it really wasn't as effective because he moved into some of those tendencies that he has. But for example, in this movie, it works out perfectly fine. Like, I had this whole gripe about them landing on this planet thing, and I'm just like, oh my God, this design is so over the top. It is absolutely just, very funny. And then Nathan Fillion shows up and he saves that whole 20 minutes of the movie. So
I also think that when you talk about directors getting into like these idiosyncratic routines, tip of the hat to Kevin Smith once again. The thing about it is, this Guardians 3 movie, I feel like you can see that and acknowledge it. And it either works for you or it doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not a deal breaker either way.
Still works.
And that's a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, and I think you can look at it. Yeah, you look 100%. At it side by side with Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is just literally let's like jerk off on screen and whatever he wants to do, and there's no censor on it whatsoever. Yeah. Versus Guardians is okay. I want to also sell a story and characters and stuff, but I'm also going to probably do some of the shit that I really like. I really like Space Hog, and I want to fucking hear the whole song, and I want a whole scene with it, and I love 2001, and I want him in the fucking suits, and I want a whole thing, and I know Nathan Fillion's going to show up and make Ben happy at the end of it. So fuck everyone. I'm James Gunn. I do whatever the hell I want. Like, and I respect that, because I think as long as the balance is there, I can definitely understand the nitpicking of it, and I can also understand just being like, sometimes you get into it and you like those sequences. I can sit there and smile through half of those things and just be like, I'm loving just all the nonsense of it. I also love, I absolutely love the wasting of the first MCU F-bomb on a completely non-necessary like moment and usage. Like, I love how simple
Open
and
the fucking
dumb
door.
it is. Open the fucking door. It is so not needed, and that's what makes it so great. Instead of it being this like big moment, like the Robin Hood, fuck me, he cleared it. That's just like, which I do admittedly love. Fuck me, he cleared it. But
It really is a funny delivery, though.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Like, if you're in the room, when you're in the room looking at alts,
yeah,
like that's gonna play as like peak Pratt. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, there was a flash of Andy. Like, we can't fucking.
And we cannot deny that and you can see it in the interviews. Whatever James Gunn does to Chris Pratt brings old Pratt back. It's like he's in the Fortress of Solitude, and the power, like the douche powers, have been removed with the crystal, and all of a sudden it's fucking the OG Pratt is back. He was funny as fuck in all of their interviews and dirty as fuck in all of their interviews, and he's great in this movie. Like, is better than he's been in anything he's done in. Other than this, in the last probably 6 films he's been in.
Which is great because now I don't have to see another Chris Pratt movie for the rest of my life.
This is very true.
I saw Guardians. Oh, actually, the Legendary Star-Lord will return. Is James gonna have anything to do with that? Does Star-Lord?
He's gonna pop up in some fucking something. Who knows?
So
you
know what?
The multiverses.
When I became a fan, like official fan of Chris Pratt, is when I found out that the line from a very long engagement, a very long engagement, 5-year engagement, the one with Jason Segel and whatever,
Emily Blunt,
his "please pack your knives and go" line was improvised, and I was just like, what? How? It's such a dumb throwaway line. I was just like, okay, this guy is like, it makes a fucking Top Chef joke,
My favorite lines are throwaway lines. I like pretty consistently, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast before, but if you put on headphones and listen to Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, it has the funniest ambient crowd ADR. I feel like Sandberg got his friends together and did a day of throwaway background lines. And it's like, it took me off guard. I had started pausing it and rewinding it and re-listening to lines that are really just supposed to hint at the presence of a person in this shot, and yet it's stealing the line.
That movie is Miller and Lord. And man, they were on the Smartless podcast, and there was a great anecdote that I didn't know about. And it was really funny as they get on there, because they go, Will, all right, like, can we talk about the incident? And he's like, yeah. And he goes, so Will Arnett and Amy Poehler recorded the tracks for that movie, for the lead characters in that film. And then Miller and Lord started cutting it together, and they showed a rough cut of it to the studios and audiences, and everyone hated it. And they hated specifically Arnett and Poehler. They just didn't work in the roles, and it didn't work. And what happened? So Lord Miller were really interesting to hear talk about it. And they go, this is where we learned why you can't do things in pieces, because they go, each of the scenes in pieces were super funny and great, and when you put them together in the actual narrative of the story, the voices didn't work. So they're like, Will Arnett's like, I was driving on the freeway in California, I get a call from Lord Miller, I pull over, and they're like, so we have to fire you, like, we're firing you and Amy, we're having to go back to the drawing board. So that's how Bill Hader and I forget who's the female lead that took over for Poehler. But they basically no, it's Bill Hader is the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is the main guy in it, and then
no, it's Andy Samberg.
No, it's Bill Hader.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
You fucked around. Now enter the find
It's
out
it's
phase.
Bill it's
Go
Bill
ahead.
Hader in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
To be a Mandela this too.
don't
Bill
think
Bill
so.
Hader and Anna Faris are the two leads in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I'm confirming right now. I see it here. Andy Samberg is in it, but he plays the mascot of the sardine company.
Why did both you and I think that though? That's such a random
Matt
thing
is
for both of us
lying.
to be like very sure about.
You've got me, Nick. I just wanted to fucking watch the world burn. I lied about an easily Googleable fact. You're
No, I'm just
Googling
saying
right
that
now. You are fact checking the fact checker?
Balls fast.
No, it's just
It
bizarre
says
that
Andy Samberg, Flint Lockwood.
No, you're such an asshole.
That's what it says.
No, it does
Matt,
not.
You're the one trying to listen. Listen, our listeners aren't going to Google this. Take time out of their precious day. And
You're
Google
such
it.
an
But
asshole.
Nice try.
You're
Nice
such an
try.
asshole.
2 against 1. It's easily provable. Don't Google it.
Don't, whatever you do, don't Google it. Just trust Nick. Don't Google it. That would be a terrible idea. Anyway, no, I thought that was super fascinating to hear them talk about, and how they've learned through doing animation of kind of how important it is. And there's that. So that was why it's super funny. Then they call him like 3 years later to do Batman in the Lego movie. And they're like, hey, Will, do you want to do a movie with us again? We promise this one will
Will
get
Arnett's
made.
Probably like, Will Arnett's like, are you sure?
No, so what was funny is they wrote in with his deal with the studio that the studio was not allowed to fire him from the Lego movie. It was contingent on if they hired him and they made the contract, they could not fire him. Because they already fired him once.
Wasn't he also going through kind of a messy separation?
Maybe that movie is what made them divorce.
Maybe they had like some underlying tension. The chemistry wasn't there.
Do you think like all the recordings were like, God damn it, Amy, I fucking hate you. I mean, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
I don't think.
I could sense some real tension in that ADR track.
Yeah. This is a good day. Meatballs are flying from the sky. Amy, come on.
Amy, God damn it.
So, since we've already meandered through a couple of other topics,
Sure.
have you guys been following any of the stuff at Cannes?
A little bit.
Yeah,
I mainly
So
the
obviously,
indie,
like,
mainly the indie reviews, which were not
Indiana
happy.
Jones, Scorsese's new movie that's 3 hours and
The Native American
947
film.
minutes long.
Look, that does not look like Scorsese to me at all, but
It looks really good, actually.
Yeah.
The trailer for it is fantastic. So I know how
Did you
much
like The Irishman?
Nick loves The Irishman. It's his favorite movie of like 2 years ago.
Did you? I can't even remember. Did you like it?
Ben liked it. You and I hated it.
I did not mind it. I didn't love it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I watched it in 2 sittings though, too. I wasn't going to go through all of that in one sitting.
Any enthusiasm above "I didn't hate it" is acceptable.
No, there are lots of other
love.
Scorsese, more recent Scorsese movies I really do like. Like I love Silence. So I'm still on with Scorsese for most stuff. But no, Killer's Flower Moon was really well received. Also, the new one, the Catherine Parr movie with Alicia Vikander, is supposed to be really good. It got like a 9-minute standing ovation.
Nice.
Where Jude Law plays Henry VIII. That could be interesting.
Oh, that's the one where he made himself smell terribly because he read that Henry VIII had an odor about him, so he made like very awful smells so that people had to deal with that on set.
Were you guys talking about
This movie with Jude Law as Henry VIII. There was an article a friend of mine sent it to today.
I think it's pronounced Enery. Enery. That's why I wasn't understanding what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Enery.
You're
was
correct.
The pronunciation.
Got married to the widow next door. She's been married 7 times before. Yes, we got where you were going with it.
It was great, and it was very, very funny.
It was very, very funny. But no, it's that time of year where
This
all
sour grapes, my amazing jokes, are going to land great with the audience, but I have no support, no live studio audience. They'd be wailing in the stands.
No, Jude Law said he had a perfume of pus, blood, feces, and sweat made to spray on himself during that movie so that he could smell suitably gross. And first of all, I gotta be on that call with Jude Law, like calling up a parfumery and being like, "Hi, so I'm looking for something with a little pus, blood, feces, the usual melange of odors."
Du toilette.
Because he goes, apparently his leg was like Henry VIII's leg was rotting really bad, and he used to rub like rose oil on it to like hide the scent. But people said they could smell him coming. So Jude Law's like, "Fuck, let's do it."
That's what Harvey Weinstein put on his dick.
And they could smell him coming.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, yeah, this is one of those weird years though where I'm seeing all this stuff that because the lineup, the premiering lineup at Cannes was like really, really super strong, and everyone's like basically saying it's a really, really good year for a bunch of movies that are going to come out later. And ironically, too, like I know the reviews aren't very good for Indiana. But the one thing that could really concern me about the last Indiana Jones movie that, I mean, obviously everything was pretty poor in that movie. But, I mean, really, Harrison Ford doesn't look like he gives half of a shit in that movie.
Yes.
And
100%.
People did say
100%.
that, no matter what you think about Dial of Destiny, he is, like, actually on board. And he feels like it.
I'm okay. Right. Listen, Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Mads Mikkelsen also. I'm reticent to ever sign off on either of those two people, or write either of those two people off. So I'm hopeful.
Ben, you sold it.
I'm hopeful.
That exact nugget is what will sell me on it.
Well, and Patrick's friend also, who he said he trusts, gave it a really glowing review. So
people always want to talk about aliens. You know, why are they bringing aliens? Like, it's Spielberg, and the Crystal Skull literally is an archaeological treasure that has legitimate quote unquote links to alien civilization. That didn't bother me. It was the fact that Harrison Ford was checked out
and a shitty script, an awful fucking script. Well, and listen, and those aliens were not.
It is Harrison Ford.
But the aliens were not.
Mark my words.
Well, I think also the problem was that the aliens were also no one's choice other than Lucas. Like Spielberg didn't want to do aliens. Harrison Ford didn't want to do aliens. Like the fucking caterers didn't want to do aliens. Like
they had an arc that turned Nazis into mush. There's supernatural elements at play here, but because it's religion, that's not
because magic is better than science, Nick. What state do you live in?
So I honestly like that swing. It's easy to bag on Lucas, but like I genuinely was like, yeah, Crystal Skull was this artifact. No one still.
The MacGuffin's fine, but the writing around the MacGuffin's terrible.
Right. Well, I think the Matt and I would both agree
I'm
that.
not even...
Darabont's unproduced Kingdom of the Crystal
good.
Skull script is fucking amazing. So
it is one of the greatest screenplays I've ever read. It's never been produced, and it's
that?
I read it. I read it over 3 days on the toilet back in 2009. And because they
stop, Matt, stop.
Stop. What? Yes,
So
you heard me right.
Every time. You just stay on the toilet for 5 hours.
I printed out the script and I read it over several sittings when I was doing my business.
Literal sittings.
I maybe an act a day. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what the page count was. But all I remember is that it was this, because I remember the thing was that
the day you had Taco Bell, you got through.
I blew through that thing literally. Darabont wrote this script and everyone loved it. This was like the big deal. Like Spielberg loves it, Harrison Ford loves it, the studio loves it, and George Lucas is like, no, I don't like it. I have a better idea.
The thing was, Lucas gave him the outline. So Lucas basically said, here's the story or whatever, and gave it to Darabont. Darabont wrote the script. So the irony is it's not even that different of a movie. It's like the big story points don't change from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as it was presented to us in 2007 or whatever, or 2008 versus what's in that script. It's just all of the writing is so clunky.
Yeah, and the set pieces are much better in Darabont's, and how the opening is better. Like there's just everything about it just flows like someone that worked on the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
The aerial fight that they for some reason
that's the opening. Yeah, it's the opening of it is a fucking plane. It opens like The Dark Knight Rises. Like there's like a whole like plane like bit on it, the front of it. It's so great, but what a waste.
Yeah, whatever.
If you But here's the thing, though. If you fix every single problem with the writing and Harrison Ford approaches that movie the same way that he did, it doesn't fucking matter.
But the problem is that they didn't. The problem is none of them liked the script. Like you can see it in Spielberg's direction. You can see it in Because I'm going to put a lot of blame on Spielberg as well, as that he is just not like. You realize that movie broke one of the best streaks he has had as a director, and that's saying a lot. Like he had almost probably 10 movies in a row almost, and he was coming off of a hot streak. This was his follow-up to Munich or Tintin.
Munich, yeah, it was the
or
movie
I think he
Munich.
did Tintin. Maybe Tintin was after this, but like
Tintin was after. Yeah.
he was on this run, and you can tell he is checked out. Like the fucking like gopher shit and the monkeys. Like you can just tell all of them didn't. Stop it. It's not. Yes, poor rich people.
They're goddamn professionals, legends.
You know what?
dare
Rich
I
people
say.
are just like
No
us, Nick. They
excuse.
have problems just like us.
No fucking excuse. They have less of an excuse.
Listen, they take that fancy drug that makes them skinny, but otherwise they're exactly like us, okay? And we know it. All right, so
And if you don't believe him, go in the back of Us Weekly. They have a whole section.
no, I'm gonna skip over a few of the other things that I was gonna talk about. I did have a game too, but we'll leave that for the other time. So we've run a little bit long. Do you guys want to do a game? You guys want to do a game?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're gonna do a game. I do want to say before we do the game, I would say there was a really piece of exciting film news this week that I don't think Nick saw because he did not text me about it, but I know he would be fucking elated about this. So I was on TikTok and there was a guy talking about the 5 like big news stories happening in film, and it was like talking about Cannes and talking. I'm like, oh, I think it's this one. Fucking Nick. Mel Gibson is directing Mark Wahlberg in a movie called Flight Risk coming out next year. That is going to be in movie theaters for all of us to enjoy. And I know you alone are so excited for that pairing of two of your heroes,
What?
I would say.
Is Bill Cosby gonna have a guest spot in that movie too?
He's producing. He's
Jesus.
producing. He's a silent
No,
producer.
that is, wait. Is this like an alternate reality? If he had been on one of the planes in 9/11, he would have stopped the terrorist attack.
I was gonna send this to you, but I was laughing too hard because it was like this series of stories, and it gets this one, and I literally it was probably 4 a.m. I was not sleeping very well this weekend because a show I was in was being canceled, and I see this thing. And there's like, and by the way, and more related great news, Mel Gibson's got a new movie coming out. I'm like, okay. It's like it's starring Mark Wahlberg. I'm like, yes. I literally scrawled it on my phone and went back to sleep. It's too good. All right.
Passion of the Wahlburger.
Here is your game for today, gentlemen. And we're going to go a little bit outside of only the film and TV confines. We're going to go through a lot of pop culture here. And I'm going to find out. So if I say the name Gordon Sumner to you, what does that mean to you? Do either of you know who Gordon Sumner is? Gordon Matthew Thomas Sumner?
Gordon Lightfoot is a musician. Gordon Shumway is an alien.
That is the real name of a famous singer. Maybe the famous bassist of all time.
Right.
Do we know? Do you know?
I've heard this.
This is Sting.
Sting.
Sting's real name is Gordon Matthew Thomas Sumner. So I'm going to give you some real names of famous people, and you're going to tell me who is the star hiding behind this real name.
Okay.
And only 2 of them are very Jewish and have changed to less Jewish names. So don't always think that that's going to be the play, okay? All right.
Context clue.
Peter Gene Hernandez. Peter Gene Hernandez.
Was not my lover. He's just a boy. Peter Gene.
You know what? That's ancillarily kind of close to this artist.
Wow.
I will say this artist is often compared to the artist that sang the song that you were just talking about.
Peter Gene. What was his last name?
Hernandez. Hernandez.
Oh, The
Hernandez.
No.
Is that The Weeknd?
No. They have been a musical guest on the
Lionel
Super
Richie.
Bowl. No.
I have no idea.
Bruno Mars.
Oh,
we
Bruno
have
Mars.
we have for first loss. Our next one, I will only give you their last name if you're not getting the first part of it, because the last name will give it away. But their first and middle name is Destiny Hope. Destiny Hope.
Miley Cyrus.
That is correct. Well done, Nick.
Oh yeah.
All right.
You're not gonna best me in Miley Cyrus.
I was pretty impressed with that. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, I'm not going to get a single one of these probably.
You know why she was named that way? Because her grandmother told her, Miley, your destiny is to provide.
God.
Jesus Christ.
That's serious.
That is fucking awful. How about Calvin Brodus Jr.?
Brodus?
Oh.
Calvin Brodus.
Oh.
You guys got it. This one even I know.
Oh no. I know this one. Damn it. I really know this one, don't I, Matt?
You do know this one. 100% you know this one. I also thought you knew Gordon Sumner, but
Not Miley related, so it's this toss up.
Calvin Brodus Jr., famous hip hop artist from the 90s. Maybe the most famous hip hop rap artist from the 90s. Not the most famous. That's not fair. That's not true either.
Calvin Brodus?
Calvin Brodus Jr.
Well, it's Biggie or
Nope.
Tupac.
Nope.
According to that
That's why I said no. That's why I said it was a bad clue. I instantly regretted that
LL
clue.
Cool J?
No, but higher than LL Cool J, but below Tupac and
God.
Pinky.
Common?
No.
Common? Q-Tip?
I just
Snoop Doggy.
Nas.
Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg.
Right.
All right. Boy, we're doing poor on this one.
Damn it.
All right. Olivia Cockburn.
Oh!
Oh, God.
God damn it.
Is it Olivia Wilde?
It is Olivia Wilde. Ben is on the board with Olivia Wilde. This is a tricky one. This is a little bit.
This game is insidious because we've all heard this trivia bite and it's instantly forgettable. It's wiped from your memory.
So this one's a tricky one.
I would never forget Cockburn.
I was my personal favorite. I had to put that one in there. Okay, Catherine Hudson. This is a little tricky. Catherine Hudson.
Katy Perry?
That is correct. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Nick is lighting it up. This one also
Katy
made
Perry,
me laugh.
Miley Cyrus. I hope I know Britney Spears' real name too, so hit me.
I don't have that on here. This one just makes me think of that movie, Martha Mary thing, but this name is Margaret Mary Emily Ann Hyra.
Hyra.
Margaret
Hyra.
Mary Emily Ann Hyra. We haven't seen her in movies in quite some time, but during the 90s, she was in quite a few rom-coms with a certain celebrity I have an affinity for.
Meg Ryan?
That's correct.
With Snoop.
Ben on the board again with Meg Ryan. How about
See, I was focused on the joke and Ben was focused on the answer and he got me.
John Roger Stevens?
Fisher.
Stevens.
Fisher.
No.
Fisher King.
No. As far from Fisher
Fisher
Stevens as you can possibly get.
He's good at imitating.
He's got a really
walks of life.
he's got a really vocal wife on social media. John Roger Stevens.
Legend.
That's correct.
Legend.
This one, I don't think anyone will get, but it was one of my favorites. Eric Marlin Bishop.
Oh, I know that one.
Eric Marlin Bishop. Oscar winner. Also famous sketch comedy performer.
Yeah, I knew
Bradley
this one at
Cooper?
some
No.
point.
Going through apparently
Bradley.
a very bad medical issue right now, and no one really knows what's happening with him. I don't know if anyone's followed that story or not.
Right. Jamie Foxx.
That is correct. Jamie Foxx. All right.
I heard his family was saying like he's at home and we're all hanging out.
Yeah, they said he's fine. He is out of
okay.
very serious medical care.
That's good.
Apparently, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Netta
he was serious,
Lee.
but, like, he was back at home.
Okay. Netta Lee Hirschlag. Netta Lee Hirschlag.
Portman?
That's correct. John, Nick, you're good at this shit.
Yeah, Nick is good.
Krishna Banji. Krishna Banji.
Krishna, 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 Krishna.
Krishna Banji.
If
If you had to guess of all of the people that might be named Krishna Banji, very famous. They are a sir. If that helps, they are a sir.
Oh, Ben.
Ben Kingsley.
That is correct. Bernice Frankel. No one will get this, and it's the most non-timely reference we've ever done on The New Way, and that's saying a lot. Bernice Frankel, famous for 2 television sitcoms from the 70s and then 80s.
Betty White?
Very close. Was in a sitcom with Betty White, but it was one of the other ones.
B. Arthur.
B. Arthur is Bernice Frankel. That's correct. How about Mark Vincent? I know one of our listeners would know this one. I know Ryan probably knows Mark Vincent.
Yeah, irony is it's like, who changes their name from Mark Vincent?
That's friend Vin Diesel.
See, that's what gets you. You focus on the joke and you miss the question.
Now,
man.
here's a fun one, because I think the real name is a better stage name than the stage name, but the stage name is also a really good stage name. So this one I'm tough on. Amethyst Kelly. Which is a great stage name. Amethyst,
Machine gun.
No. Shotgun. That's funny.
I feel like it just makes more sense.
It
with
does.
The vibes, you know?
Amethyst Kelly.
No idea.
Iggy Azalea's real name is Amethyst Kelly. 2 great names. Here's another tricky one. Well, before I get to the tricky one, this one's just kind of cool. Ilyena Mironov. Ilyena Mironov. This one blew my mind because they are not at all Russian to me, but that is a very Russian name.
Mila Kunis.
No. Older, sexy actress, but older, then sexy, then actress.
Marissa Tomei.
No. Actually, actress.
Helen Mirren.
Yes. Helen Mirren's real name is Ilyena Mironov. Okay. Tricky one, guys. Tricky one.
Sexier.
This is the real name, not the stage name. Michael Douglas.
And they changed it because
of Michael Douglas
right?
in the early 80s.
I know this. I know this one.
They only changed the last name as the hint. And they might have back in the day said, I am Michael Douglas.
Michael Caine.
No.
Michael Caine.
I am Michael Douglas.
Michael Caine was around before Michael Douglas
Michael
was.
Keaton. Michael Keaton. Here's a good one. Maurice Joseph Micklewhite. I'll give you a hint. You guessed this for another person.
Oh, God.
Very recently, as in with the last 60 seconds.
Oh, what I just said.
Yes. Who'd you say?
Oh, God. Oh, God, it's the hardest question you've asked all night.
Michael Caine. Michael Caine's
Caine.
real name is
Michael Caine.
Maurice
I was
Joseph
getting there.
Micklewhite.
I was getting there.
Oh, wait. One, I know Nick will know. I'm sure Nick knows this one. Stephanie Germanata. Stephanie Germanata? No? None of you?
Gaga.
That's correct. Any of the rest of these worth doing? I mean, Whoopi Goldberg's real name is Karen Johnson. That's just funny to me.
That's
like
a great one. I didn't know that.
the most
Whoopi
just-
is a Karen?
No, it's-
Oh.
Elton John is Reginald Dwight.
That's one I actually know.
Oh, well, shit.
Yeah.
Melissa Jefferson is Lizzo. Amanda Lee Rogers, who made me laugh, is Portia de Rossi. Montero Hill is Lil Nas X, and Aubrey Graham is Drake. So that is your name game for the podcast.
All right.
And now that so Ryan doesn't yell at us, we are now 46 minutes into the podcast. So we're going to talk about what the topic is. Also, Ryan, just in case you do not know what the topic is, the episode name is always the topic.
The title.
Yeah. So just look at what you're listening to, and it'll give you a hint of what's going on. So don't you do Tim the Toolman Taylor on this podcast? Did you know that will summon him in the state of Florida? That's our nationals. That's our state sound. So I was watching last week an episode of the new Perry Mason, which is a really good show, by the way. I don't know if either of you gentlemen
You
watched
don't remember?
season one.
I was watching that during the first season, and you guys were just like,
Oh, and I didn't.
hadn't even
I was a
heard of it.
latecomer to it. Yeah. I mean, I watched.
This is still my opinion.
I used to watch that show back in like long ago with my dad when I was growing up, like the original Perry Mason. So it's very different this new show, but I love it.
I have seen none of the new season. I watched the entire first season.
I got through the first episode of the new season. It's really good. I'm liking everything about it. But I was sitting there and I'm watching. It's Matthew Rhys. Matthew Rhys, right? Is the lead.
Matthew Rhys.
And I realized not just that the characters are somewhat similar, but Matthew Rhys is also a very similar actor to the actor that plays Matt Murdock in the Daredevil series, Charlie Cox. And I was like, gosh, these characters are actually really, really fucking similar to one another. And it'd be really interesting to see them practicing in, competing law firms or something in the city. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could imagine Charlie Cox and the Americans.
Yes, exactly. Yes, 100%. And so I was like, we've done.
I picture him in my dreams.
You picture Cox in your dreams. We have heard this before. It was written on a bathroom stall as well. But too lowbrow. So sorry.
It stinks.
I know. It's very bad. But you know who liked it?
I love it.
Beth always loves it. So. So I got to thinking they do this in comics a lot. They do comics. They like to mash up, Marvel and DC characters and kind of all these different things in there. So I thought, what if we did
James Gunn at the helm of DC? That might actually happen.
This is very, very true. So I like to think, what if we just took some characters from whether it's movies or TV or whatever properties you want? Who do you want to see interact with one another in some property? And if you have a scenario, even better. A lot of mine, I realized I was falling into a trap with a lot of mine that just became Freddy versus Jason. So I was just like this character versus this character and this character versus this character. I didn't have a lot much beyond that, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of talk about this. And I'd hoped that I'd have a little more cohesive things instead of I just have a list of like blank versus blank for like 6 or 7 of these. But I know, Nick, you said you had quite a sheet of notes on this. So why don't you kick us off? And you're the comic fan, so
I'm either blending casts or I'm replacing them entirely.
Ooh, okay.
In this,
I like this.
Like putting characters from one property in the world of another. But the first one is kind of a cheat because the first thing I thought of was White Lotus. And J. Cool kind of sets the table, but White Lotus, but sprinkled in Christopher Guest regulars. So we also throw in Catherine O'Hara. We also throw in Chris Guest. And it would work because it already has.
Yes, and yeah, all of the yeses. How do I get a Christopher Guest White Lotus season? How do I get Christopher Guest as the Armand character? I need all of this.
That's literally where my first thought was. I was just like, shit, Christopher Guest would be a great hotel manager.
And then I started thinking about it. It's like you plug in Parker Posey and Eugene Levy, and White Lotus kind of is a slightly more serious Christopher Guest.
I'm just hitting the enter button on my keyboard right now repeatedly. How do I now? Yes. I want, make this happen. Yes, please.
No, but I think that's pretty astute, Nick, because basically that's kind of what White Lotus is. It's kind of like, well, maybe that's what Mike White's thing is he's just a little bit, he's the edgy, less Guffman-y.
Yeah, you're right.
I love it. I love it.
Straight-laced.
I also love going reverse with that and taking those White Lotus casts and throwing them into Guffman.
Right.
Like 100%, I can see this bridge going both ways. That they hit a button and the cast just flip, and it's the movies as they were, but with this entirely different cast and that energy that each of them bring. I would watch the fuck out of this.
Yep.
And you go from delivering one of your favorite monologues in television in the past 10 years to being put on a community theater stage.
Yes.
In Guffman.
I mean, yes, all of this. Yes, please. This you just made this entire podcast worthwhile, Nick.
No one, you didn't expect that, did you?
No, I did not. Coming hot out of the gate.
Do I need to re-download Twitter and get this out in the ether and then delete it again?
No, please don't do that. But no, I love this. This is great.
Person to think of this.
I don't know.
Yes.
That it's
validation.
great.
This is something we put it out into the universe and make it happen. Just like Andy Samberg was the lead in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Which is confirmed via search. Of course, Matt isn't going to like change his opinion when he's caught recording. Oh no, I'm very sure. I'm very sure.
That does sound
just
like
trust
me.
us. It's 2 against 1.
Yeah, it was a good impression of me
worth-
too.
Not worth checking.
I love it. I mean, shit, you're out of the gate. You've beaten most of my things. Like my first thing I wrote down was Beetlejuice versus Ghostbusters. That's as far as I got.
Like, wait.
It's all Ben, there are no questions, please. There will be no questions. I will not be taking any questions. I just in my head said, what if the Ghostbusters had to face off against Beetlejuice? That's as far as I got. And I just went to the next one.
Oh, God.
That is almost my entire list reads like that.
This is what it should be. This is what I have enough to keep this going. I think that's the tone now. Let's just throw it in there. All right.
Hey, that could be the Beetlejuice 2 movie that we're getting next year. You never know. It
also wasn't my only Beetlejuice versus. I also had Beetlejuice versus the Joker. Because I wanted 2 agents of chaos against one another, but it's as far as I got. Do you realize how great of a Hollywood producer I could be? I've got 100 of these. I could be green. I get coked up. I get in a room and I'm just like Beetlejuice versus the Joker, and then I make some kid write it.
Beetlejuice versus all the Gremlins and Gremlins 2.
Oh my God! Fuck! I gotta write that one down. Beetlejuice.
Have you guys watched any Sandman?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
I have not.
Imagine Sandman taken not seriously, but with the Lonely Island guys and like their team of people that we have. Where
I like this.
Oh, that would be mean. That would be brutal. Is what it would end up
It
being.
would be brutal.
A
Yes.
skewering of
You realize
Damon.
it was like posts or like pitches like this that made Venom. Like, this is how the Venom movies happen, where some asshole like me being like, what if Little Shop of Horrors Venom? And they're like, yes, brilliant, do it.
All right, listen.
Wait. Let me ask you a question. You know, that Mel Gibson hasn't made a movie in a while. What about Mark Wahlberg?
I will have you
How do
know
we-
that Little Shop of Symbiotes TikTok is still my best performing TikTok. So
How do we make Mel Gibson likable again? I know. Let's match him up with known racist and harming of a human being, Mark Wahlberg. That'll do it. Because you know what? It'll make Mel Gibson look a little bit more human next to that piece of shit.
with the soundtrack by Nickelback.
Wait, first of all, that's too mean. I would not subject Nickelback to that. They're just bad. They're not awful people. We need someone that's. It needs to be a soundtrack by Gary Glitter.
I know, no, Drowning Pool.
There you go.
What was the one that the guy who the TikTok, that Dinesh guy took his TikTok over?
I love that everything's just that now. It's amazing.
I'm coming up though with some other like kind of cast replacements now that are also.
I like this.
They're in that mean vein a little bit, where it's just like, oh well. But imagine if the Fast and the Furious was done, but the entire cast was all Always Sunny in Philadelphia characters.
I was gonna go. I was going a tangential one of that. I was thinking if Fast and Furious was populated by Wes Anderson characters. And it was just Owen Wilson like, wow, this car is fast.
I think that movie exists. It's called like Asteroid City. It's coming out later.
It would all just be the go-kart scene from Royal Tenenbaums. But that would be Fast and Furious.
I'd watch it.
That's another movie that was at Cannes that got a pretty good response. Was Asteroid City.
Ooh, it just
Silly.
looks cool. It just looks cool to me. But yeah, I'm on board with that.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah.
You take Beef and True Detective Season 2 and replace Ali Wong and Vince Vaughn with literally anyone. What do you think about that? That good?
Wait. Ali Wong and Vince Vaughn with who?
Anyone.
Literally anyone.
Anyone.
Anyone you want. It's fine. Literally anyone. Anyone else. Anyone else.
Who was Ali Wong?
I didn't even know she was in. I didn't even know she was in that.
No, in beef. I said to take beef.
Okay, that's where you confused me because first of all, I thought you were saying take beef, and I was like, okay, and what are we going to put beef in? And then I thought you were going another way with the joke.
It's a riff of mixing and matching cast.
I thought you were replacing Vince Vaughn and Ali Wong in True Detective with beef. And I didn't think that she was even in it, but I do like the idea of replacing Vince Vaughn with beef in almost any
of Angus.
So gritty. Why would I want to exist in a world where I no longer have any stake in?
Oh,
beautiful
fuck.
bastard. Or you can recast the main character in Angus with Vince Vaughn. He literally would be.
In True Detective season 2, like the first scene with Vince Vaughn, he's just laying in a bed with his wife, and he's like talking about. Yeah, now it's just a beefsteak.
He's just in bed with
laying in a bed.
A ham hock. Oh God. I want to replace Vince Vaughn in every movie with beef. Just a slab of beef. It doesn't talk.
But no, hey, this beef has range though. Like it could be a steak in one, and it could be a burger in another.
That's more range than he's
it
got.
fervently believes that taxation is theft. Fervently. And we'll talk about it whenever it gets the chance.
Man, we need to have.
I'm sorry, right now, I'm just thinking of all these famous Vince Vaughn lines uttered by like a cheeseburger. It's just, I'm not going to be able to get past this right now. Whose idea was this podcast? Fuck Matt.
First of all, Beef as Vince Vaughn in the Psycho remake definitely improves things 100%. When Beef comes out dressed up like its mother at the end of it, there's not a dry eye in the house. It's gonna be just phenomenally amazing.
Because they're gonna cry of beauty, cry from just witnessing perfection on celluloid.
That doesn't sound like
I am sweating. I am laughing so hard right now. Oh my God. My face is turning bright red.
Right, I got it. Yellow Jackets, but they're the Mighty Ducks.
That's pretty good.
I love it. Greenlit. Nick, you're right. Nick, I'm greenlighting all of your movies tonight.
I'm gonna baby.
I do actually really like. I thought you were gonna go with a joke and be like, "Hear me out, Yellow Jackets, but with boys."
No, just Mighty Ducks, all of them.
Mighty Ducks. There's at least one girl.
Goldberg's been doing well. There's two. There's Connie and there's
I realized that on my verses, a lot of mine came down to so because I started it thinking about this with the lawyers, then all of my thoughts were lawyers. So then I came up also with I'd like to see Saul Goodman versus Matt Murdock, which I think would be an interesting see them on opposite side of a case.
I would watch Bridgerton with Community, but played through the lens of like this is one of Abed's like role plays, but it's the whole season of Bridgerton.
Only if the dean is the smoldering and not Jeff. Well, we need to play against type to make that work.
Yeah, sure.
I also have Matt Murdock versus Beetlejuice, but I don't think that one's gonna work. So
your list is just Beetlejuice versus everybody.
Not everyone. It was just every other one.
You got me. I almost squirted cherry coke at him.
I have got Daniel Plainview versus Beetlejuice.
Joe's apartment, but all of the roaches are Beetlejuice.
Did you just make the Oops All Beetlejuice's version of Captain Crunch? Holy shit! Oh my God!
I was gonna tell you. I mean, obviously, he wasn't well known for his acting.
Beetlejuice.
But if No Country for Old Men, if Anton Chigurh was played by Wesley Willis, that would be.
Come on now. Come on now. Now this is turned into like the Muppet prompt, where it just replaces one person with a Muppet. This is what this podcast has turned into. Which brings me to my next idea.
Have you watched any of the Muppets? The new
Beetlejuice versus the Muppets? Oh. That's on my list too.
No, I think technically it's the Muppets versus
Show with our very special guest.
Oh my god.
No, yeah.
Nice fucking puppet.
Mayhem. Oh god. Mayhem is great. It is so pure, and it is such a palate cleanser. It is the dose of nostalgia we have come to know and love and require to run.
This is for our audience. This is the new
household.
Muppets series.
Muppets Mayhem.
The new Muppet Show on Disney Plus, Mayhem, about Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, the band, and it is so funny, like a great cameos. It's not gonna blow your mind, but it's consistently like happy and joyful, and it's been a really fun thing to throw on.
Now, I was gonna say, it's a good sign when the promotional materials are making you laugh out loud. Where I was like,
the Joaquin Phoenix bit made me laugh really hard. Did you see that one, Ben?
Yeah.
It's basically it's an animal interviewing Dr. Teeth, right? Or not Dr. Teeth, the bassist, and being like, who would play you in a movie? And it just keeps going, Joaquin. And then and they go, who would play me? He's like, Joaquin. And like all the answers are like, Joaquin.
I haven't seen that. That's funny.
Joaquin. I think Kelly made those.
Oh, they're super fucking funny as hell. That'll get me to watch. Just I agree with Ben. Like when they're funny on that kind of stuff, it's going to probably translate to something good on there.
Yep.
So the only whole cast crossover I had, and it's a cheat because they've already been mashed up so much, and I do love TikTok's done a really good thing. I watched them do them all in one way, and now they've started turning the other way, which is basically they were doing like Succession as Arrested Development and doing all of that, and they've reversed them, so then it's Arrested Development as Succession. So they've been making really serious Arrested Development episodes, which are like super funny. But those two are great. Like, but I do like that they finally went both ways. They were going the one way for the whole time. Now it's like super funny. But that's a cast swap I would do and see, watch Arrested Development in the higher stakes version of Succession.
I think what we should do is and I mean this quite literally, is we should table part of this conversation and then come up with some sort of like with either just the three of us or with a couple of other people on the podcast, come up with one of these high concept of like, here's who the cast is, here's what we're following the storyline of this, and then while we're live on, I'll just type it into Chat GPT, have them generate a script, and we'll read it.
I love this idea.
Wow.
Yes,
Our AI
absolutely.
episode.
This will
back wrecked reruns, the AI edition.
This will be our 48-minute introduction to our next episode.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is we can make it pretty short too. It's just like, and it would be a funny little game. I
will say with the funny thing to me of kind of like doing this other podcast last week was kind of entertaining to me because we have long since abandoned structure for this podcast. Like we cling to it and we pretend there's structure here and there, and we like to kind of joke about it. But really, what I like about the evolution of this podcast is it really is just bullshitting about pop culture for an hour and a half, wherever that leads us. We also, I could go back through episodes where we have gotten 3/4 maybe of the way through a topic, and we've run over time, that we could probably go back and stitch together episodes of just like, hey, let's finish up our discussion on whatever it is on that stuff. But yeah, I'm not super worried about us, whatever our future episodes are. We can just do whatever the hell we want.
No, naturally.
Chat GPT, write a podcast intro on the style of the new way. Got it.
It's going to be the same thing I do every week.
472 pages.
ChatGPT, write the first 47 minutes of an episode of the new way. Like, so hot dogs.
And the AI goes, trick question. There's no intro under 47 minutes.
So we're going to replace Edward Norton
to every database.
We're going to replace Edward Norton with a hot dog in every movie. Go.
Oh, God.
I mean, these are the things. I'm going to open my Wonder app right now, and I'm going to do Vince Vaughn being replaced with beef.
Swingers, but Vince Vaughn is played by beef.
Yeah.
It's happening.
It could happen.
I love it. I did have...
All right, Matt, how about this one?
Yeah. No, let's hear
I'll
it.
get one real quick. I'm gonna
No, you're
shoot
good.
one of those real quick.
No, do it.
Six feet under in Twin Peaks.
Ooh.
So you got like you got the Seattle thing. So what if Nate knew Laura Palmer and you made those two universes exist in the same world, and maybe Laura Palmer's body goes to Fisher and Sons.
So there is in the first season of Twin Peaks, there is the scene in the morgue with Albert and the sheriff and Cooper. That is that you could 100% have David in there in that, like, sub him in so easily.
Oh yeah,
into that scene. 100% love that. I also like it because I like taking those because they're not so that's really interesting to me because Twin Peaks is really its own just tone and style, but there's enough weirdness in the other ones that they won't feel completely out of place when you put them into that world, but it will be different from what it was in 6 Feet Under, abjectly so. I love that one. That's great.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's
that actually has legs. Yeah,
better than the one I was going to say, which was the Riddler versus Saw.
Wait, so like Jigsaw?
I like that though.
No, it's like
Saw.
Jigsaw. Yeah, Riddler versus
Jigsaw,
Saw.
yeah. Like,
Jigsaw is the name of the villain.
Yeah, that's what I said. Riddler versus Saw, Ben. I know what you're doing here.
They'd have a riddle off. They'd riddle each other off.
That's clearly just his last name. It is
Riddle me
Mr.
timbers.
Jigsaw.
Mr. Jig M Saw.
You know it.
All right, I got another one for you. Ready? Do you remember? I almost went a different direction with this, but do you remember Ghost Writer on PBS Kids?
Oh yeah.
It was a grammar show, but these children who were visited by a mischievous apparition that helped write short stories.
Basically, it was ChatGPT. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was a ghost, and no one knew if it's the spirit of a person or if it was just like a ghost, like grammar. But what if you sub out the kids in that show with the Stranger Things cast, and then make it like Succession and Arrested Development, make that all of a sudden there is a ghost trying to communicate with us too.
I would also watch.
Duffers good.
I would also watch the Stranger Things kids as the Midnight Society, and they're telling the ghost story that is Stranger Things, and we find out that's what they're doing at the end of it.
Now, see, that was the other direction that I alluded to, but the problem is they're only there for the intro and the outro. They're not ever featured in the meat.
Except they're telling the story of Stranger Things. They're telling us the tale.
It would waste the talent and time.
No, they're in both of them. They're telling the story of their own show, and they've inserted themselves into the.
Next.
Okay, Ellen Ripley and Ash in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, now you're talking against Beetlejuice.
I did for the sequel. He's gonna be in when they have to team up.
I had Shaun of the Evil Dead, which had Shaun and Ash.
I like that.
Together.
I like that one. I like, and you're keeping consistent with the zombies.
Well, we want as many roles as possible for Bruce Campbell. I think when it comes down to it, we'll match him up with any cast.
I had one that I'm genuinely serious about.
White Lotus too.
I have one I'm genuinely serious about, which is I want Q from the Star Trek universe versus the Avengers. I want him to be the big threat. So I want them to have to go up against someone that's he's not going for world domination or destroying things. He just wants chaos and to be entertained. And what would he do to all of the different Avengers that he could fiddle with?
Because DC has Mr. Mixelplick, which is basically
just that. Which, I mean, you could say that Mordok's a little bit like that, but not as powerful. Modoc. I thought it was Mordok.
Modoc. Ant-Man and
yeah.
Oswald.
Some of the best CGI that money can buy.
Machine organism designed only for killing.
Yes, but he had a different acronym. The acronym was different in Ant-Man, right? It was revealed to be something different.
No, Modoc.
Oh, I thought it was like it had a different
the naming of it.
Yeah, it was something different. It was like it tied into.
There's also Morbius and Mobius. That was kind of messy.
No, I just want Q versus the Avengers. That's it.
Fair. All right, Ben just texted us Vince Vaughn, but he's being played by a few.
Oh no. I must see.
That didn't go where I think it was gonna go.
Yeah, it didn't go where I thought it was going.
What? Well, one of them is just fat Vince Vaughn as Anthony Perkins in Psycho, and the other is fat Vince Vaughn superhero.
Yes. So
one of them looks like if he was cast in Men in Black and not Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever.
He looks somehow worse as an AI creation than he does in real life, and it's inexplicably terrible. What did they do?
That I did not have the AI assisted success that I did from when I previously did Ravenous Ass Flying Assholes or whatever it was that.
This looks like if Vince Vaughn stepped into the transporters from The Fly and there was a piece of hamburger on there instead of a fly, and then he transferred over. This is what he would turn into by the end of the movie.
I think that's how the AI interpreted that prompt. You know.
So now that we're there, let's do The Fly, but with Vince Vaughn and a piece of meat.
It's the beef. And at the end of it, he's like, "I got a real beef with you people," and then he gets his head blown off by a shotgun.
Roll credits.
Roll credits. How about this one I liked. It's a little on the nose, but I like this one. Jack Burton and Han Solo are a couple of smuggling cargo people in space, just fucking moving freight across space. This is in between Han's bigger storylines, and it's just he and Jack Burton. Maybe they're competing smugglers. And they're trying to like get more contracts than the other one, something like that.
Or they join forces and get a new ship, the Pork Chop Falcon.
Ooh,
and the logo is
played by Vince Vaughn.
So this is sort of a tertiary point. More, it's not like where they're replacing anything, but if you could take the character of Jack Burton and stick them on the Sulaco in Alien, he would fit in perfectly well with the rest of the
cast. Absolutely. Yeah. He would be what's the guy that died, the older guy that was in
Tom Skerritt?
No, he was in Big Love. Harry Dean Stanton. He'd be like a younger, like you, especially now, like if you took Jack Burton at this age, and he would be that character completely.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like you could just take him and put him in the movie as a new character, and it would fit in like pretty well. You know?
You're gonna hate this one so much, so I apologize for it, but I can't. It'll be in my head if I don't get it out of there. I want to do Alien, but I want to replace all of the blue collar workers. No. He might show up.
Xenomorph versus
no. So it's Alien, but the cast is being replaced with all of the oil drillers from Armageddon, and instead of the alien, it is Beetlejuice. It's a bunch of Beetlejuice chest bursters that come out and go, "It's showtime!" and like bursts out of Owen Wilson's stomach. It's like, "It's showtime!" And then yeah.
And then they go, "This host was the most."
God.
Greenlit. Enter. Greenlighting all these movies tonight.
Friend of the podcast, Lindsay Dommel, had one of the most brilliant tweets I've ever seen, and it changed my life. I think this is relevant. Season 3 pitch of Severance. We discover Keir Egan and Alvar Hanzo were business partners, maybe lovers, until differing ideologies lead to their breakup and creation of competitors, Lumen and the Hanzo Foundation.
Holy fucking shit! Yes,
right.
You're going to Severance, Alien, and to Succession. Yes, 1,000 times yes.
No, I said Lost.
Lost. I'm sorry, Hanzo. No, I was thinking of Wayland Yutani. Close. I was close. I was a little off, but a little close.
No, but when you think about it, it is. I always think people said that. Oh, it felt Twin Peaksy because it had that sort of mystery, gothic, weird. It didn't feel like Lost, except when they talk about it was a combination of Lost and like Portal
and Dream Writers
company.
Dream Writers.
Yeah, right. That is what made me think of that. But it does make that could be in the same world easily. And then you could throw in Aperture Science too. Aperture Science, Hanzo Foundation, and Lumen are all competing against each other in the same world.
I think that all. Yeah, they're
Have
all.
you guys watched?
Go ahead.
Have you guys watched any of the Backrooms shorts on YouTube?
You
Okay,
you showed those to me when I. By the way, Ben did not preface any of this. He goes, you ever seen the Backrooms? And I was like, I don't know what this is. And he proceeded to show me 10 minutes of terror, just abjectly, like the most horrifying imagery and things I've seen in a long time. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, but there was no context given.
Yeah. So basically, it's a string of horror shorts that are basically done in this very, very much a Severance looking like empty office that is like it's very, very strange, and
a lot of hallways that just don't end and don't begin, and you're just kind of like mazy,
and they go like weird places. But it was very smartly constructed. The kid who, because it was a 14-year-old kid made the first video, and just using kind of tricky editing and stuff like that, it was able to kind of create these very strange sort of scenarios, and because it's all found footage, like the guy's walking through it with a camera, basically. And he's like, "Where the fuck am I?" You know, it's one of those types of videos. No, anyways, really cool. So, how the creature in the Backrooms videos that makes all the weird noises it comes out versus Beetlejuice, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say the creature is Beetlejuice. So it's that guy wandering around a bunch of offices, and it's just Beetlejuice like, hey, and you're like, ah, and it's just running away from them. Those videos, by the way, Ben, got stuck in my brain pretty hard for about a week after you showed that to me, and I've not revisited them because I had some messed up dreams off of those. They're very effective for what they do.
Yeah. The kid who made him, he got like a picture deal with A24. So they're making like a Backrooms movie. It was very micro budgeted, but he was like the 17-year-old kid. He's just like, sure.
I mean, he did everything on After Effects. He did it for no money anyway. I mean, they're super effective shorts. They're like 5 or 6 minutes long, some of them, and there's nothing too. This is gonna sound like a backhanded comic. There's nothing to the majority of them because it's all just suspense building and this person running through these places and occasionally looking behind them and running through all these different scapes. And occasionally you get a glimpse of like a Lovecraftian leg or arm or something big that's moving fast in the background, and then just keep running through these mazes. Like it's very effective.
Well, it's sound design.
Yeah, I love crafting. How could you tell if the tentacle was racist?
Jesus.
Just by looking at it, he said it was Lovecraftian.
I mean, I didn't know any of that.
That was a joke.
I know. I didn't. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that's another thing I can't enjoy.
Never enjoy content from anyone ever. You learn your lesson.
Ever.
Sounds about right.
Any time period.
Oh, I did.
Time period, stretching back as far as you can go.
I did. So I did think I would like to see a Michael Schur universe with characters from different Michael Schur properties. So like Raymond Holt and Ron Swanson and Kelly Kapoor in The Good Place, and dealing with Michael in The Good Place, and just watching a bunch of Schur characters that are a little bit different feeling from the other shows, kind of interacting with one another on there.
That's a sure thing. What that is. How about you merge the casts of Mr. Show
and Beetlejuice?
Leave, Kids in the Hall, Whitest Kids You Know.
Ooh.
With SNL, with every cast, every season of SNL.
I like the idea.
The best sketch show of all time.
No, I like the idea of taking other sketch performers to do famous sketches for other people. So take like Tim Robinson and throw him in a Mr. Show sketch, and take David
Bob
Cross.
And David could do a dead parrot.
Yeah,
sketch.
Exactly. Like find out what their version of those sketches would be super. Like especially ones that really tonally don't like Kids in the Hall doing like cowbell. Like it's not a tonal match between the two, but if they were to take that iconic sketch and see what those 5 would do with it versus the ones that did it.
Well, all you wouldn't even need to be a cowbell. It'd be like the premise is famous band that
Yeah.
has kind of a funny sound effect, and one of their hits is recording, and one person plays the person playing the weird instrument, and that could be anything.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't you don't even have to go back to DOC, or like, yeah, like this person is in a lie detector and he can't fail the lie detector. You know, that's it. Have different people do different takes and
I
rewrite
like
the
it.
sketch, but they get the premise.
I like it.
Kind of like it. It's all in the premise, Matt. As you
Yes. Like, well, that's why none of mine have any premises. Just
Beetlejuice versus blank.
Heath Ledger Joker versus Captain America. This is something I wrote down.
You're just like fan casting fights.
Pretty much.
And they're all Beetlejuice.
Ethan Hunt versus Jason Bourne, and then they team up in the sequel against Beetlejuice.
You're just like, who do I want to see fight? And that's gonna be it's Beetlejuice and someone else. And I'm gonna make that list.
I'm gonna do that scene from Mission Impossible 5 where Henry Cavill is replaced by Beetlejuice, and he's just like loading up the arms in that bathroom fight.
Matt, are you ready? I'm gonna break you. You ready?
Let's do it.
Beetlejuice versus Beetlejuice.
Oh shit! No!
Beetlejuice.
Only say it one more time.
Yes. What's the one thing you could do to beat Beetlejuice? More Beetlejuices. It's gonna be Beetlejuice versus Beetlejuice.
We have had some really, really dumb episodes, but this is taking the fucking cake, man. I mean, in the best possible way.
How about Beetlejuice versus beef? No. Too soon? Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot. I didn't have a lot of fun.
That's about all I got. Good a time as any, man. Call it.
I had Doc Brown and Doctor Who, but I didn't have anything that they did. I just had them in the same movie together.
Speaking of Anton Chigurh, call it.
I think we've did this one justice.
Yeah. Let's not.
You know what?
Prolong the magic.
There have been other times where I say I apologize for podcasts. I'm going to say you're welcome for the last hour and 24 minutes that you listened to because
you're welcome.
That was amazing. That's some of the best podcasting I've ever heard.
Yet.
Now that's podcasting.
Let's listen to it first.
First of all, the first rule of the new way is we don't listen to our own podcasts. Second rule of the new way is we don't listen to our own podcasts. I listen to a couple here and there, but not very often. Anyway, we want to thank you so much for listening. We got lots of new episodes coming up throughout the summer. And maybe next podcast I'll tell you about how the musical I was in imploded. Because that's a story.
I really think that we should just sit down and you should do a chronological recounting of that whole situation.
I will say the
broad strokes.
The funniest weird thing to happen to me out of all of this is I'm sitting down to eat dinner tonight and I turn on the TV and I shit you not, the station that's on when I turn it on is the History Channel and it's an expose on Adolf Hitler and the producers is largely a show about Hitler and I go the universe is just telling me to like something you were on the wrong track. So yeah, it was an interesting, weird.
There was a glitch in the Matrix or something.
Yes, I think so. But yes, I will regale you all with tales of how a musical imploded, and then tell you about I'm in 2 other shows this summer now that should be fun and good, and I knock on wood will not be marred by controversy and craziness. So we'll see. One of them I'm barely in. So
Thunder from Down Under usually plays it pretty straight.
I wish I could book that show. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll talk to you next time. Cheers.